The January 2022 meeting of the CSU Board of Trustees is called to order. Trustees, please unmute your audio for roll call. Ms. Matthews, please call the roll.
Trustee Adamson.
Present.
Trustee Arambula. Trustee Carney.
Present.
Chancellor Castro.
Here.
Trustee Clark.
Present.
Trustee Day.
Present.
Trustee Fagan.
Here.
Trustee Farrar.
Here.
Trustee Furstenberg.
Present.
Trustee Fong.
Here.
Chair Kimball.
Here.
Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis. Trustee Linares.
Presente.
Trustee Lopez.
Here.
Trustee McGrory.
Here.
Governor Newsom. Trustee Ortiz-Morfitt.
Present.
Trustee Reyes. Present. Trustee Rodriguez.
Here.
Speaker Rendon. Trustee Sebelius.
Here, but I wish I was there in person.
Trustee Simon. Trustee Steinhauser.
Here.
Superintendent Thurman. Chair Kimball, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Unfortunately, this meeting marks a return to a virtual format after our in-person meeting in November. A decision made necessary by the current surge in COVID-19 cases driven by the highly infectious Omicron variant. However, I am optimistic that this return to virtual will be short-lived and that we will be back to person in March. This meeting also marks a trial departure from our usual format, most notably with the reports from the board chair, chancellor, CSU chair, CSSA president, and CSU alumni president taking place on Tuesday rather than Wednesday. I'll have more to add on these topics in my report this afternoon. In this virtual meeting format, we will continue taking all public comment for committees and plenary at the beginning of our open session. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Matthews to please call the speakers who have requested to provide public comment. Please note that this period will be considered a hearing for purposes of receiving any comments related to any Title V action items on the agenda for this meeting. Due to the large number of speakers who have registered by the deadline, we ask that you please keep your comments to less than 1 minute. And to the extent you can state your remarks more briefly, you will allow more speakers to address the board. Ms. Matthews?
Thank you, Chair Kimball. Good morning. At this time, I will call your name in groups of 3. Please listen for your name. You will be asked to unmute your microphone, and then you may begin your comments. Please note the timer in Zoom will indicate when your time ends. Our first 3 speakers are Rollin Richmond, Jason Ramos, and Dan Phillips. Dr. Richmond, you may begin your comments.
Good morning, board members and former colleagues. I am Rollin Richmond and had the honor of serving as the president of Humboldt State University for 12 years until 2014. I am pleased to support the recommendation by HSU's leadership that the university be renamed as California State Polytechnic University Humboldt and addressed as Cal Poly Humboldt. The name change will strongly support Humboldt County businesses and provide important opportunities for students who transfer from community colleges. HSU has developed a strong relationship with the local College of the Redwoods that has benefited students from both institutions. In addition, Cal Poly Humboldt will serve the needs of students for a polytech education and career that will be critical for the development of new technologies. Cal Poly Humboldt's new academic programs will be important for the polytech educational opportunities. I urge the board to approve the name change for Humboldt State University to Cal Poly Humboldt. I think it will also be beneficial for California State University. Thank you for your service on the board and for your support for excellent education in California.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Ramos. Jason, please unmute and you may begin your comments.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Ramos. I'm a tribal member. I'm the tribal vice chair and tribal administrator of the Blue Lake Rancheria Tribe of California. I'm also a graduate of HSU with bachelor's and master's degrees. It's my great honor to be able to speak with you today in support of the change to the Polytechnic designation. My tribe has a solar-powered microgrid that powers our casino, our gas station, and all of our tribal government buildings. And we were able to do that with the engineering expertise and applied field work of HSU and Shots Energy. During the power safety shutoffs from PG&E, my tribe was able to provide space for medication, cool space for medication, ice for folks, and provide spaces for critically ill individuals in our hotel. HSU has also helped us develop a biodiesel program that heats many of our tribal houses and our fire station. It is my view that HSU is already demonstrating that it is an institute of technology with its wide array of diverse projects in applied sciences, and we are in support of the name change. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Dan Phillips, most recently the CTO at Hulu. I grew up in Humboldt County. Humboldt State is where I earned 2 degrees and where I started my first software company with a professor. I also believe the most important investment we can make is in our youth. And it's through educating our youth that the greatest progress can be realized in solving some of our biggest challenges. So this is why I'm so excited about Humboldt State and the promise it brings as a polytech, about what it means for the North Coast and what it means for our young people in Northern California and across the state. This is why I joined the first comprehensive fundraising campaign at Humboldt as the chair, and why I contributed $1 million in scholarships to Humboldt. This is why John Ballard and I started a venture fund to invest in ideas in companies coming out of the university, and where those investments and proceeds will ultimately go right back to the university. That's why everyone I talk to is so excited. So I want to thank you for your support in this endeavor. The hard work has just started and we're committed. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen, please accept our next 3 speakers are Karen Deemer, Edie Brown, and Dagoberto Argueta. Karen, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Karen Deemer, the city manager for the city of Arcata. And on behalf of our community, I wanted to call in to share our excitement and support for the Polytech designation proposed for Humboldt State University. I wanted to thank trustees Linares and Reynes for their visit this past year. We had a great conversation, and I hope what they experienced showed them both the significance of HSU to our region. We really are built on the creativity and skill of HSU graduates, and the true depth of our partnership between the university, the cities of Arcata and Eureka, and the Humboldt Bay region. We are proud of our strong science and sustainability history and our ability for our community to support students as they transition from academics to work experience. Please take the step tomorrow to support the transition of Humboldt State University to a Cal Poly Humboldt. Thank you.
Thank you. Edie, you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Edie Brown. I'm the president of Academic Professionals of California, and I'll be speaking on the subject of expanded COVID leave. During the latter part of 2021, as the expanded COVID-19 related leave was set to expire, APC had been in discussions with the CSU Labor Relations team requesting that the chancellor extend ECRL, but to no avail. And actually the answer was always an adamant no. As we could see cases rise, APC, with the support of our sister unions, created a petition that was sent to our union membership requesting the chancellor and others restore ECRL. As of today, we have over 4,195 signatures and comments pleading that this body do something. I am encouraged to hear that the governor and legislature are finalizing plans for more COVID supplemental paid sick leave, but I am disappointed that the chancellor and this body did not take the lead on taking care of their employees by starting this year with some iteration of an extended COVID leave in place. I want to share an excerpt of an email from an APC member that was sent to me recently. During a time of high COVID exposure—
Edie, if you could please wrap up your remarks. Thank you.
We are once again at the front lines, exposing ourselves to being sick when students and faculty members do not have to. This feels extremely insensitive and like our best interests, health, and lives are not being thought of when making decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dagoberto, you may unmute yourself and begin your comments.
Good morning, trustees. I'm Dagoberto Argueta, Vice President of APC representing Unit 4. My colleagues throughout the system are relieving the anxiety of March 2020 all over again. During the Omicron surge, many offices on several campuses have not allowed employees to work remotely, despite APC and the CSU having agreed on a system-wide telecommuting policy. Predictably, the problem lies with local department administrators across all 23 campuses who choose to ignore the multiple notices of campus COVID infections my colleagues receive on a daily basis. While this is a widespread problem, I want to single out the campuses of Fresno, Dominguez Hills, and San Bernardino for being particularly insensitive and endangering the health and safety of their employees. I ask you to please issue clear guidelines to campus administrators on the need to allow telecommuting for employees during this surge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Ethan Quaranta, Tessie Reese, and Don Moreno. Ethan, you may unmute and begin your comments.
Morning, Board of Trustees. This is Ethan Quaranta. You may remember me as I have provided public comment at various public comment sessions in the past, as well as met with many of you with regards to fossil fuel divestment in my capacity as co-chair and CSUMB campus lead of Divest the CSU of Fossil Fuels. First, this is my first time back since that decision. First, I'd like to commend and thank you for taking the bold and necessary action by divesting from fossil fuels via the Investments Advising Committee. The statement has been immensely useful on our campus level campaigns, pushing auxiliaries to divest, as well as other universities throughout the nation and beyond in their campaigns for divestment. But today I'm here to speak to you all simply as a concerned CSU student and not wearing one of my half dozen or so leadership hats about the CSU sustainability policy. In its current form, the sustainability policy is almost exclusively an organizing and regurgitation of existing state laws. It does not seem to show much vision.
Ethan, could you please wrap up your comments? Thank you.
It does not seem to show much vision and leadership like was present in the decision to divest from fossil fuels. Thank you for the time to address you all today.
Thank you. Tessie, you may unmute and begin your remarks.
Thank you. Good morning, all. My name is Tessie Reese. I'm the Unit 2 chair and LVN2 who work at San Diego State, and I'm the chair of CSU EU Unit 2. We are working with the CSU on a salary study to reform the pay system for staff. The salary study is our joint effort to reform years of having a system that does not work. For those who are not aware, our union, the CSU EU, worked with the CSU and other labor allies, including the Teamsters, to successfully push for the salary study. The state legislature and governor approved it last year, and we have a contract with the consultant Mercer, which is evaluating existing salary structures. As part of the study, this December, more than 5,000 employees participated in the focus groups. Employees' feedback was very clear. 8 in 10 do not believe pay and promotions at the CSU are consistent. An astonishing 96% do not believe the CSU has an appropriate process for advancing employees' pay. We're not here to point fingers, but to remind the board that there is real work ahead to correct decades of neglect. We need a system that works for frontline employees who have a direct impact on
Tessie, could you please wrap up your remarks?
Yep,
Thank you.
one sentence. We are eager to see the Mercer draft report in March and support its funding in the state budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Don, you may begin.
Good morning, Michelle, Board of Trustees and guests. My name is Don Moreno. I'm representing Cal State University Employees Union. I'm out of Cal State Hayward. I'm talking about the ECRL. No worker should be forced to choose between earning a paycheck and spreading a deadly virus at work or at home. As we head into the third year and with a severe surge in new variant cases, we need the CSU to act quickly to extend critical protection to your workers. Specifically, we ask you to provide COVID-19 paid leave as you did in March 2020. Thousands of CSU's frontline support services staff worked on campuses throughout the pandemic. Our employees have engaged in the CSU's vaccine program. We have followed the mitigation steps needed on campuses. Now we need the CSU to step up. While the state
Don, could you please wrap up your remarks, please?
Yes. While the state is oh my gosh, debating issues, emergency protections for workers. The CSU does not need to wait for the legislature. All the unions at the universities agree on the need to extend pandemic sick. We need to make sure no employee feels compelled to come to work with symptoms because.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Martin Brenner, Jessica Westbay, and Nicholas von Glahn. Martin, you may unmute and begin your comments.
Martin Brenner, CSU Unit 9 Chair, Long Beach State. Go Sharks. Governor Newsom's budget proposal this year brought much needed stimulus and services to our state. With a projected state surplus of $45.7 billion, the overall state budget represents a 9% increase from the previous year. We support the governor's investments in education. We are fortunate to live in a state with leaders who share our goal that we must all benefit from California's thriving economy, an economy which is powered by the labor of millions of hardworking women and men, and a high-quality education system that empowers future generations to high levels of successes and productivity. With an unprecedented increase to the CSU's budget, we need to see this as an opening, as a base to work from. We want to work with the CSU to develop a precise set of budget requests that fund salary reform, fair contracts, and crucial programs. We support the CFA agreement and look forward to working with faculty to advocate for its funding. The salary study could be the beginning.
Could you please wrap up your comments? Thank you.
Last sentence. The salary study could be the beginning of an effective labor management compact. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, you may begin.
Thank you. I'm Jessica Westbay, the Vice President for Representation for CSUEU and an employee at Chico State. CSUEU is preparing to meet with the CSU to negotiate a new contract this year. But to be very clear, we're not just negotiating a contract. We are mobilizing to win good jobs for our 15,000 plus represented members. The CSU compensation structure needs a reboot. We need salary reform that rewards good work. We demand a contract that provides job security, and we deserve jobs with a pathway for advancement. Nearly 3 years into a pandemic has clearly shown that we, your frontline employees, are essential to the CSU mission of providing educational opportunities to students and ensuring their success. The CSU is losing highly qualified workers seeking better opportunities and higher pay elsewhere. This has direct impact not only on campus operations, but also on the student experience. The CSU can and should do better than this. You can be a leader by committing to good jobs for your workers. Investing in CSU employees is an investment in the essential function of the CSU and our shared mission of student success. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicholas, you may begin.
Hi, my name is Nicholas von Glahn. I'm a faculty member at Cal Pi Pomona, and my family had our 2 children on promotion raises to be able to afford the cost of daycare and educational costs. But the pandemic has turned all of this on its head. Last year was very hard homeschooling both of our children and working full-time jobs. However, the challenges still continue with school closures, sitting out because of exposure, needing to get the kids tested, and many other challenges due to COVID. As we have to often organize our calendars around different work meetings and teaching to determine which meetings are undistracted and which meetings we have to do childcare while we complete those work duties. I urge this body to come up with ways to support parents, realizing that the rank and status of the faculty, as well as the age of the children, will affect the type of support needed. I also advocate for faculty to have an entire term off for parental leave to give new parents and their babies the time they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers are Christina Cecil, Charles Toombs, and Faye Walks. Christina, you may begin.
Hi, I'm Christina Seisel, Associate Professor of Communications at Cal State Fullerton. I'm here today wearing a mask inside my house because my daughter, who is less than 2 years old, tested positive for COVID last night, and I'm trying desperately not to get sick as well. This is how I will start the semester, meeting with my students throughout the day, guiding them through class material, front-loaded with theory, masked and caring for a sick child simultaneously. There are no COVID risk calculators online that forecast a safe scenario in a classroom of 30 students. It is statistically likely that my classroom will have someone with COVID in it when we go back to in-person classes on the 7th, Had we started this week, I would have been that person. Faculty have not been given adequate time to prepare. The non-instructional days we were supposed to have for these changes were scheduled for last week. We already had service commitments taking up our time. The Board of Trustees and CSU administration must work more closely with the CFA chapters to ensure the health and safety of faculty students. Throughout this, we have felt unheard and unseen. Faculty on the front lines.
Christina, could you please wrap up your remarks?
Faculty on the front lines deserve a seat. Thank you.
Charles, you may begin.
Good morning, Charles Toon, CFA President. CFA members are in the process of voting on the agreement between CSU management and CFA. This agreement includes the inclusion of Caste as a protected category. We strongly support the inclusion of Caste. It is about non-discrimination, not discrimination. As of this morning, we have received almost 100 letters and emails of support from across the state and across the nation in support of Caste as a protected category. Also included in the agreement is language that a portion of the negotiated compensation increase for faculty hinges upon additional funding from the state, and we encourage the CSU to advocate strongly for this budget increase. We want to remind you at the core of our ability to provide quality education our faculty and making progress toward appropriate compensation for faculty is key to student success. We share Chancellor Castro.
Charles, could you please wrap up your remarks? Thank you.
Yes, I will. That when the administration, faculty, staff, and students work together to advocate for the CSU, we are a strong and effective voice, and we look forward to this advocacy for budget to guarantee our salary increases in the negotiated contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Faye, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hi, I'm Faye Wax. I'm a professor of sociology at Cal Poly Pomona, and I'm also treasurer of our local union CFA chapter. The challenge of reducing crime on campus is not one best served by our existing budgetary and policing priorities. Policing to prevent crime is cost ineffective as it requires perpetual presence and oversight by what is now effectively being armed like an occupying force. Moreover, police respond after events occur, and while that is necessary, it's not especially impactful at preventing or reducing crime, and it does little to immediately serve communities in times of crisis or challenge. There are a myriad of support services that would better serve the needs of our campus communities. Mental health care services, thoughtful infrastructure, student support groups, and networks are woefully underfunded by comparison to campus police services. Policing isn't about the welfare of our students, but we continue to invest disproportionately in increasingly militarized surveillance-based strategies rather than strategies that serve and empower communities. We ask for opportunities for our students to have access to services that empower and enrich rather than monitor and control. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Lewis Call, Kevin Weir, and Jamie Blank. Lewis, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
I'm Lewis Call, CFA SLO Chapter President. Although every other quarter calendar university in California started their winter quarters virtually, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo began in-person classes on January 3rd. Students were allowed to attend in-person classes before they received the results of their COVID tests. Many turned out to be COVID positive. Cal Poly does not require N95 masks and did not even recommend them until after the quarter began. At least one staff member has died of COVID, which he probably contracted on campus. 45% of faculty who responded to a CFA survey feel unsafe teaching in person. 2/3 of survey respondents chose to teach their in-person classes virtually during week 1. Now faculty are being forced back into unsafe classrooms. We have filed a chapter grievance on this. If faculty have COVID, let them teach virtually. If faculty fear for the safety of themselves, their families, their students, let them teach virtually. If faculty want to accommodate the many COVID positive students who can't attend in-person classes, let them teach virtually. Do not force us to use sick time and cancel classes. Instead, let us teach. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Good morning. I'm Kevin Weir, Vice President of CFA and Chair of Bargaining. Trustees, today you have in front of you an historic contract to ratify. This contract makes clear improvements in many areas of great concern to faculty and management alike. We have improved timelines for addressing grievances. We have increased the job security of some of our most precarious colleagues and provided pathways for them to secure employment. We have written into our contract significant gains in anti-racism and social justice, addressing bias in evaluations, making permanent programs to address cultural taxation, adding caste to categories protected from discrimination. We have made permanent assigned time for probationary faculty. We have addressed workload flexibility for librarians and counselors, made explicit the ability for multi-year contracts for coaches. We have clarified processes for criteria for sabbaticals, and we have a fair compensation package for our hardworking faculty who have risen to the occasion of this pandemic and are doing their best to support this third graduating COVID class of 2022. This contract demonstrates our agreement that student success is best achieved through a contract that creates the best faculty working
Kevin,
conditions.
could you please wrap up your comments?
Yes, I'm almost done. But there is still work to do. We have a budget to advocate for together. We have several working groups to address open questions on parental leave, multi-year contracts, new classifications, and alternatives to policing on campus. It is my hope that we can.
Jamie, you may begin.
My name is Jamie Blank, and I am part of Students for Quality Education at Cal State Fullerton. I'm here today to call on you as representatives of the CSU to reallocate funds from the University Police Department into resources for students such as mental health. I support the eventual disbanding of police because Bartholomew P. Williams was experiencing a mental health crisis in 2012 on the campus of Cal State San Bernardino. Police officer Matthew Verhulst knew this and still, trigger warning, used excessive force that ended the life of Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams' life mattered and his death could have been prevented if campus police were not armed. Mr. Williams' life mattered and his death could have been prevented if more mental health counselors were on campus to assist students who need help. Mr. Williams should still be alive today, and he would have been if CSU leaders had prioritized students' well-being over the violent white supremacist police state. We call for action that is not radical nor based on opinion. We need police off campus as they are a danger to our lives. And thank you for supporting and listening to the voices of the affected Caste community and your commitment to ending racial and social justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Ja'Cory Bowens, Ash Hormaza, and Ezra Skinner. Ja'Cory, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Good morning, Board of Trustees. My name is Ja'Cory, and I'm a senior studying at San Francisco State University, and I'm a part of Students for Quality Education. I come to you all today urging you all to take action in addressing the traumas and inequities caused by the CSU policing system. As someone who was racially profiled by UPD on my campus, I've endured trauma that has only been exacerbated by the inactiveness of my university administration and staff. It upsets me knowing that my student fees go to a policing entity that has not only traumatized me and so many others, but this university does not even have enough mental health resources to help me process the trauma that they created. My university's ASI has passed countless resolutions calling for the reallocation of UPD funds, as well as is now being a priority on the California State Student Association policy agenda. The longer the BOT takes in addressing UPD, the more students will continue to suffer. Please redirect funds from UPD into mental health resources. Our call is not radical nor based on opinion. Also, thank you for listening to the voices of caste-affected members of our community and your commitment to racial and social justice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ash, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ash Ormasa Urea, and I'm a part of Students for Quality Education at Cal State Fullerton. First of all, thank you for including caste-affected members in your racial discrimination policies. Secondly, in 2013, the Board of Trustees paid a $2.5 million settlement to the family of Bartholomew Williams, may he rest in peace, a Cal State San Bernardino student who was violently murdered at the hands of Officer Helen Skaggs and Officer Matthew Verhulst. The Board of Trustees denied all liability, and investigations found the officers justified in their murder of an unarmed Black student who was in need of mental health support. I find it disgusting and an abuse of power that as of 2022, the CSU has not fired a killer cop and instead has given him a position of power on Cal State Fullerton's Chief Advisory Board. We call on you for the immediate dismissal of this racist murderer and his banishment from any CSU campus. Our call for action is not radical nor based on opinion. It's based on the reality that the policing institution is inherently violent against Black and brown students. Get the police off campus now, period.
Thank you. Ezra, you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Ezra, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Students for Quality Education at Cal State Monterey Bay. Firstly, I want to thank you for supporting Caste-affected community members. I'm here to advocate for the reform and eventual disbanding of police on our campuses. CSU Monterey Bay and campuses statewide are over-policed. We spend a great deal of taxpayer and tuition dollars to fund police when it is evident that UPD was implemented to police students who just want to get their education. Last year, CSU and B had a Nazi on campus, swastikas and photos of Adolf Hitler strewn across his apartment, and selling ghost gun parts out of his dorm. Police arrested him for weapons on campus, but could find no evidence that he is associated with a hate group, as if Nazis are not a hate group. How can UPD be expected to serve Black and Indigenous, Latina, Jewish, LGBTQ, and disabled students targeted by a Nazi ideology? The answer is they cannot and do not. We must implement alternatives to address these issues that impact the safety of students and faculty that do not rely on carceral punishment, utilizing cops with a badge, a gun, and rudimentary understandings of their own biases. Defund, disarm, disband. This is not radical. This is safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Valerie Battle Haddock, Beth Baker, and Sharon Elise. Valerie, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Valbara Harak, and I'm a student at Cal State San Marcos, and I'm in Students for Quality Education. First, thank you for listening to the voices of caste-affected members of our community and your commitment to racial and social justice. Second, I am advocating today for alternatives to policing and the eventual removal of university police. We have more police officers on our campus than mental health counselors. That is 21 officers and only 7 psychological counselors. This means that we have 7 counselors for approximately 17,000 students, or a ratio of 1 counselor for every 2,500 students. Not only does this ratio not meet the APA's recommended ratio of 1 counselor per 1,000 to 1,500 students, but is a slap in the face of every student who has been trying to survive this pandemic. As a student myself who struggles with my mental health, I want you to know that I found this counselor to student ratio disappointing and shameful. It is because of this failure to prioritize the mental health of students that I support SQP's demand to hire more mental health counselors who meet the ratio and are as diverse as we are. Students need resources and support, not police. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Beth Baker, and I've been a professor at Cal State LA for 20 years. And I'm here to speak about the over-policing of CSU students and how policing fails to serve their needs. At Cal State LA, there's an LAPD station 3.5 miles away in one direction and a sheriff's station 3.5 miles away in the other. Yet our working class students are forced to pay the inflated salaries and overtime for a police force of 18 officers. That's more police than counselors on our campus. The $5 million a year we pay for policing is more than we pay to the Counseling Center, the Office for Students with Disabilities, the Dreamers Resource Center, the Tutoring Center, and the Food Bank all combined. Our CSU campuses are low crime, and the annual Clery reports show that most violations are dating violence between students, substance abuse, and mental health crises. These are issues best dealt with through improved counseling service rather than militarized police with no training in resolving these crises. Many students, staff, and faculty of color report feeling fear around
Could you please
police.
wrap up your comments? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Students should not have to pay for their own repression. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon, you may begin.
As CFA's AVP for Racial and Social Justice South, I strongly endorse and support the inclusion of caste in protected categories who face discrimination. I also want to join others in questioning the rationale that police are on campus to keep us safe, to stop violence, when in our social reality, police often bring the violence. BIPOC faculty face being profiled as criminal suspects, interrogated to why they are on campus. New faculty orientations tell us to settle any conflict or crisis by calling the police. Many of us were raised to avoid the police because they are a danger to us. Campus policing adds to the trauma we face daily in our encounters with ICE, Border Patrol, sheriffs, and city cops. So cops on campus is not welcoming and not safe, especially when they are militarized and armed menace. We want you, our CSU leaders, to rededicate the resources you spend on policing us to resources that support our campus mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers are Rachel Flores, Tyler Calderon, and Drew Scott. Rachel, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Flores, and I am a part of Students for Quality Education at San Jose State University. I'm here advocating for the reform and eventual disbanding of campus police, not only on my campus, but statewide. Gregory Johnson Jr., Antonio Guzman Lopez. I echo the names of two victims who have yet to see justice. The University Police Department has been involved in not one, but two cases, one in which it was deemed, quote, legally justifiable, end quote, to murder Antonio Guzman Lopez, a 38-year-old undocumented individual who was a part of the San Jose community. The second case I would like to shed some light on is that of Gregory Johnson Jr., trigger warning, a San Jose State student of whom was reported to have committed suicide, despite the evidence proving otherwise. Why did UPD not investigate the logistics of this case further? It has become nothing but clear that SJSUPD was involved in the concealment of what actually happened. Enough is enough. We demand once again and will continue. Get police off campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Tyler, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Tyler Calderon, and I am part of Students for Quality Education at Sonoma State University. I'm here today to continue to advocate for the reform and eventual disbanding of campus police. I support this because of their ineptness in multiple suggestive interactions to de-escalate and handle minor situations properly. One very alarming encounter occurred when someone was struggling with their mental health while under the influence. Rather than approaching from an empathetic standpoint, they were offered an ultimatum by UPD. It was somewhere along the lines of, you can either go with the paramedics or you can come with us and be in a lot more trouble. That chilling statement still echoes in my mind to this day. Why? Because that student was me. While they perceived it as having too much fun, that was my cry for help. Rather than helping those who they are sworn to protect, they only exacerbated minor problems. If UPD is incompetent in recognizing my agony, how can everyone expect them to help with responding to mental health related calls? We demand trained mental health professionals and unaffiliated crisis intervention teams to be the norm for responding to mental health situations. Our call for action is not radical, nor is it opinion-based. Get police off campus. Thank you for listening to the voices of caste-affected members of our community and your commitment to racial and social justice.
Drew, you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Drew Scott, and I'm the Skilled Trades Director for Teamsters 2010 and the Facility Control Specialist at Fresno State. Chancellor Castro, your bargaining team's 4% offer for the last 2 years is once again unacceptable, considering the restoration of funding from the state and federal funding you have received, and the fact that your reserves are still growing. Trustees, I call upon you to urge the Chancellor to speak to his fiscal conservatives who are coming up with these lowball offers that don't even keep up with the current 7% rate of inflation. Unit 6 skilled trades Teamsters are on your campuses working every day, while so many others are telecommuting to slow the spread of the Omicron variant. Meanwhile, we're dropping like flies, going out on exposure isolation and COVID-19 in record numbers with no COVID leave. This is a disgrace, and you should be ashamed of the way your campus administrators are treating your Unit 6 Teamsters. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Jason Rabinowitz, Spencer Owen, and Blaine Hinckley. Jason, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Thank you. This is Jason Rabinowitz. I'm Secretary Treasurer, Teamsters Local 2010, representing 15,000 hardworking workers in higher education in California, including over 1,100 skilled trades workers across the 22 CSU campuses. Our hardworking Teamsters have been on-site, in person, making the sacrifices, putting health and safety at risk, doing the work that has kept CSU running through this COVID crisis, from day one of the crisis through today and into the future, all while receiving no raise for 2 years. Yet CSU has refused to bargain with us for raises for 2020 and has offered just 4% for 2021. This is totally inadequate at a time when inflation is at 7% annually, and we know that CSU can well afford to be fair to workers. The budgets are up, reserves are up, hundreds of millions of dollars in stimulus has been received by the CSU. It's time for CSU to be fair to workers who have kept the university running, to show appreciation and thanks for the hard work
Drew,
and sacrifice
Jason,
our members have made.
Can you please wrap up your remarks? Thank
Wrapping
you.
it up, real appreciation is a Teamster contract with fair pay and benefits for the hard work and sacrifice that our members have made. We're heroes, not zeros. We demand that CSU come back to the table with a fair offer for a fair contract for the work that our members provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Spencer, it appears you're not connected to audio. So if you want to send in your written comments, we would really appreciate those. Our next speaker is Blaine. Blaine, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
My name is Blaine Hinckley, a facilities plumber at FCSU for 4 years. The beginning of the pandemic was uncertain. As it progressed, we continued to pivot in how we dealt with it. The pandemic was fluid and protocols became tighter. But what didn't change and what remains consistent is our skilled tradesmen in the trenches physically coming to campus to maintain the infrastructure, to make sure it didn't fall on itself, maintaining that same infrastructure that guarantees students have a safe and functional place to learn, allowing those of you to have the positions you have. We are a big part of the backbone to this physical structure. So remember, with those that deny us a fair increase to stay in line with costs of living and current inflation, got to stay home, working safely behind a computer, attending virtual meetings as we came to work exposing ourselves and our families to keep the buildings operating. All we want is what's fair.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Angel Rivera, Nancy Huante Titsun, and Matthew Brenner. Angel, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Angel Rivera and I'm a USAS student and an incoming state student at Fresno State. And I'm here to state my solidarity with Teamsters 2010 skills trades workers, the lowest paid workers across the CSU who have been at the front lines of the pandemic. During this pandemic and economic recession, people are getting sick, dying, and becoming houseless. Yet the CSU system is okay with not giving their essential workers the bare minimum. Your decision makers have been giving insulting proposals. Like in 2020-2021, you all proposed a 0% wage increase, and in 2021-2022, only offering a 4% increase to workers who have been working through the pandemic. Despite receiving federal and state aid to help pay for your workers, skills trades keep the university running for your students, and your workers deserve more. Chancellor, Castro, trustees, and president, do what's right to pay all your essential workers and what they deserve. Also, cops off campus now. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy, you may begin.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to comment on parenting support at CSU. I'm going on my 6th year as a lecturer at Sac State, and I would really like to encourage you, the board, to work with faculty, union, and other parts of the CSU community to strengthen parental support. I want to share 2 brief experiences. The first one has to do with requesting maternity leave. I was very disappointed with the process. Having to submit a lot of proof like that I was pregnant was a lot uncomfortable. And the other piece of it was making sure that I had paid leave was a big deal. Fortunately, I was able to pull together my sick leave to make sure that my full semester would be paid. But it's unfortunate that others don't run the same luck and have to return to work a little bit sooner. The last point that I want to make is in regards to parenting working during a pandemic. These past 2 years have been challenging. I would appreciate if the CSU system would create a better system of support for faculty who are parenting at this moment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Matthew, you may begin.
My name is Matthew Benner. I've been working at San Diego State for the last 17 years in the facility services paint shop, and I'm a member of the Teamsters 2010. I'm in agreement with my brothers and sisters in rejecting the proposed one-time 4% salary increase during this contract negotiation period. And here's why I believe that we should do better. U.S. inflation was up 7% last year, highest since 1982, and is no longer considered transitory. Cost of median houses here in San Diego have increased from December 2018 to December 2021, $200,000. According to Investopedia, California has 5 out of the 10 most expensive cities to live in. Here in San Diego, SDG&E has raised rates significantly as of January 1, 2022, as well as the Board of Trustees approved 17 $115 million for our CSU operating budget for 22-23, which represents a $673 million base increase in our general fund support. Unit 6.
Matthew, could you please wrap up your comments?
Well, I just look forward to a fair contract and appreciate the Board of Trustees taking time to hear our concerns.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Vyacheslav Fedotov, Angelito Lucas, and Keith Jones. Vyacheslav, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Yes, Sonoma State University, Vyacheslav Fedotov, 2010 Teamsters. Our county, despite on top of the pandemic, had to deal with the wildfires for 2 years in a row. As a result, county lost over 1,000 homes here. Some of our members became pretty much homeless, or they had to evacuate. So the cost of living just gone up ridiculously high, and yet Board of Trustees and the Chancellor's office completely failed to help us out with any kind of recognition or any kind of financial support, despite the fact that Chancellor himself got a huge raise. So we're all happy about to hear all that good news, over $200,000 for doing absolutely nothing to help us out. So thank you, and we appreciate if you can take a look and see how people can survive so we can hire more people. Every department is short-handed, absolutely. So we're struggling with COVID hours, how to pay the rent and housing expenses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Angelito, you may begin once you accept the unmute request.
SDSU has remained operational while complying with the ever-changing guidelines and requirements to maintain a safe and healthy environment for our students, faculty, staff, and visitors. These are the exact words that were written in the email coming from our university president inviting us to a special Unsung Heroes event to recognize us for our significant contribution. My name is Lito Lucas. I'm with the Teamster Local 2010. I'm a power plant operator at San Diego State University cogeneration plant. I've been working here for 16 years. I am also a veteran. When I was in the service, two things that you can do to bring down the morale of your subordinates. You mess with their free time and you mess with their pay. If CSU really acknowledge our major contributions, we should be entitled to a fair and equitable pay raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hello, my name is Keith Jones. I'm a lead electrician here at San Diego State, and all I'm asking for is that we come up with a cost of living increase that's fair, that can keep up with the expenses of living in San Diego County. Also, I'd like to see our step pay increases reinstated so that we can retain good employees and experienced employees. And I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Matt Mason, Carlos Sanchez, and Zach Osborne. Matthew, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Thank you, brothers and sisters and union fighting for fair wages. My name is Matt Mason. I'm a Sacramento State auto mechanic for 17 years and a member of the Teamsters 2010 bargaining team. We are the essential workers working at the CSU. For over two years, we, the skilled trades workers, have continued coming in and doing our essential work to keep the CSU campuses open, safe, and operational during the COVID-19 pandemic. But the CSU still refuses to give any consideration of a cost of living increase in 2020 and a zero equity increase in 2021 to fix the disparity in compressed wages. In 2021, the CSU did become fully funded and received a 5% increase, and the reserves increased to over $2 billion. We've risked our health and safety and received no general salary increases, and we are still here day after day dealing with COVID restrictions and doing double the work when 50% of our workers are sick and under quarantine. We're the people on the campus on the ground. We're keeping it open. We are the essential workers. Again, please show your support for our hard work at the bargaining table.
Thank you. Carlos, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Carlos Sanchez. I'm a lead locksmith. I've been working at San Diego State University for 28 years. As part of the Teamsters Bargaining Committee, I would like to express how frustrating and demoralizing it's been trying to bargain in good faith with your committee. We know that your budget has been fully restored for the last year, but you choose not to even bargain at all for last year. You are offering us a 4% GSI for this year when inflation alone is at 7%. At the start of the pandemic, we were the ones that had to go to work during those uncertain times. And because you call us essential workers, we're here. And once again, we are here again with this current outbreak. We are the ones that are here keeping the universities operating and making it safe for the students' return. Yet you still won't acknowledge or compensate us for who we are. Mr. Castro, I urge you to speak to your committee and come to the table with a fair offer. Thank you.
Thank you. Zach, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Zach Osborne. I'm representing Teamsters 2010 Skilled Trades, like a lot of my other brothers and sisters who've spoken. We're just trying to get a fair contract. There's really only three ways for us to get an increase in pay. In-range progression, which they get denied a lot, bargaining, and then also steps, but that was taken away. So we don't have steps anymore. We need to get a fair bargaining with the chancellor, so we can remain competitive with outside entities and get the best people in here so we can do the best job possible. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Robert Olson, Bobby Webb, and Vincent McElwain. Robert, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Robert Olson. I'm here at work today wearing a mask because we had an outbreak of COVID in our paint shop. I am a painter. I've been here over 19 years. I've been coming to work every day during this pandemic, putting my life, my family's life at risk. But yet I am still at the bottom of my scale after 19 years of service. I am only one paycheck away from being homeless. The pay and rent do not equal. My rent has gone up over 10%. Cost of living has gone up over 7% for this time of the year. I have a grandson that's 5 years old that I have in my custody that I've been taking care of due to my daughter's illness of addiction. These things and times need to be reconciled. Chancellor, please tell your bargaining team to bargain fairly with us so that we can afford to live in the areas we work and are not homeless. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Bobby, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Good morning. My name is Bobby Webb. I work at San Diego State as Cogen plant supervisor. And I just wanted to make the statement about three things. Number one, safety. The trades have been on the campus throughout the pandemic, being exposed to such items during such shutdown. Some operators and repair technicians having to go out and do and even transit to work in the midst of having curfews, on exposure to coworkers and having to conduct extra contamination and maintain safety for their family members, and also the psychological strain of trying to maintain safe environments for themselves and at home while staying focused on the job. The equity, trades have gotten the job done. As funding shortfalls occurred due to shutdowns of the
Bobby,
campuses,
could you please wrap up your comments?
maintained
Thank you.
operation of the facilities, as well as all phases of maintenance and operation. But the worth that has been put on it is the offer that has been presented. I ask that the committee please reconsider their offer regarding raises. Thank you.
Thank you. Vincent, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Good morning, Vincent McElwain, Teamsters, 16 years of dedicated service. March 19, 2019, I was a plumbing shop and steam shop supervisor. I was then told my shops with a staffing level 11 would be reduced down to 2 people. Since then, I have never missed a single essential day. Our uninterrupted dedication kept buildings operating, water drinkable. Where were you? In the comfort of your homes, close to family, teaching 3rd grade, watching grandchildren so that your children could work and put food on the table? I don't care to recognize life's extracurricular duties. That doesn't pay. Keeping the campus operational and disaster-free should. Your inability to fund such unwavering duties is a complete lack of understanding as to what we really do. Not knowing what I have dedicated my life and career to is a complete lack of respect. Continuing to be underpaid and underrecognized will eventually find you with staffing levels that will return the same lack of respect when you're in need. Show you care and understand by keeping up with the cost of living here in California. Otherwise, be prepared to watch us unify and leave you with a campus to fix yourselves, not without making noise and informing prospective students and parents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Alexandra Orr, Sunil Kumar, and Thenmozi Soundararajan. Alexandra, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lexi Orr, and I am part of Students for Quality Education at California State University, Long Beach. Firstly, thank you for listening to the voices of caste-affected members of our community and your commitment to racial and social justice. Secondly, I am here today to continue to advocate for the reform and eventual disbanding of campus police. I support this because of the lack of funding and support mental health services at CSUOB gets due to universities favoring campus police. CSUOB has a student population of nearly 40,000 students, yet our mental health services only have around 15 mental health professionals to support the needs of all of our students. For an institution that claims to support the diversity of all students, providing more resources to the student population needs to be a top priority. We demand that funds are reallocated to mental health services to hire more mental health counselors and to integrate trained mental health crisis intervention teams on each campus that are unaffiliated with policing. Our call for support is not radical nor based on opinion. It is reality and students are suffering. Get police off campus immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunil, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hello, I'm Sunil Kumar, professor at San Diego State. I oppose inclusion of caste in Article 16.1 of Faculty CBA. The CSSA resolution, CFA's own caste expert, and all the news coverage and numerous tweets clearly demonstrate that the real intent behind this caste issue is to target Hindu community of Indian and South Asian descent. We reached out to CFA way back in May, but I'm sorry to say that they kept us in dark and instead chose to listen to student activists and a section of CFA leaders. In our meeting on January 14, CFA leaders themselves admitted that they do not understand the complexity of caste and then they have dropped the ball. Instead, they promised us to help if there is any case of caste discrimination against us, that is any false case. So if the caste, I have a question for trustees and the CSU administration. If the caste-based discrimination is really widespread in CSU system, why have complaints not been received in the previous years? Thank you.
Thank you. Thenmozi, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hello, my name is Thenmozi Soundararajan, and I'm Executive Director of Equality Labs, and we are a caste-oppressed civil rights organization. We were deeply honored to work on the issue of caste equity with the CSU system and with the California Faculty Union. And I want to just congratulate the trustees for the historic addition of adding caste to its non-discrimination policy. As an alumni of the UC systems with family in the CSU, I know what happens to caste-oppressed people. We face caste slurs, open bigotry, gaslighting, microaggressions, discrimination in housing, and gender-based violence like sexual harassment and assault. And this aligns with our research, where we find that 1 in 4 Dalits face physical and verbal assault, 2 in 3 workplace discrimination, and 1 in 3 discrimination at the university. That's why we appreciate the addition. We also appreciate the many calls for solidarity and want to let our colleagues know that caste abolition is related to all of the urgent worker, student, and racial justice issues being shared. We look forward to implementing these policies and strongly support the calls to divest from campus police and protect Black and Brown lives now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Skylar Wharton, Prashant Nima, and Sunita Viswanath. Skylar, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Skylar Wharton, and I am a technologist and a tech worker. I strongly support the calls to disband campus police in order to protect Black and Brown lives. I am also an ally to the caste equity struggle. I commend CSU for adding caste to its anti-discrimination policy. I also urge the Board of Trustees to immediately pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure that caste is protected in CFA contracts. The tech company that I work for relies on talent from many universities in California, yet universities are sites of caste discrimination. anti-discrimination. It is vital that universities are sites of equal access for all people. The caste protections that you are considering today will immensely support Dilits and other caste-oppressed people. Please pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure that caste is also protected in CFA contracts. Thank you.
Thank you. Prashant, you may begin.
Hello. Before I congratulate you, I'd like to begin with strong support for calls to divest from the campus police and protect Black and brown lives now. I also express strong support for call for fair pay and safety for your heroic employees. My name is Prashant and I am a man of Hindu descent from dominant caste. I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discriminatory policies and urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today. Members of the board, today as we celebrate this historic victory of the oppressed and marginalized people, we also witness the ocular demonstration of a systemic casteism by members of my oppressing class. I'm embarrassed and ashamed of the resistance and fragility to this historic victory, but I am not surprised. I've spent 45 years of my life living among the dominant caste, and I can personally vouch for the fact that the oppressed people need to be protected against toxicity of caste and the mindset that it produces among the members of my caste brethren. This event is being closely watched with hope by oppressed caste students and faculty from India who are driven to suicide by oppressor caste faculty and peers. One cannot expect—
Prashant, could you please wrap up your remarks?
One cannot expect casteism to be completely undone merely by crossing seas, just as racist behavior cannot be undone merely by crossing seas. Please protect the caste oppressed. Thank you.
Sunita, you may begin.
I am Sunita Vishwanath, Executive Director of Hindus for Human Rights. As a progressive Hindu, I take an unwavering stand against caste. Caste discrimination is rife in all the countries where South Asians have migrated to, including the United States. Caste discrimination and bigotry, sometimes casual and passing, and sometimes more egregious and threatening, takes place in all the spaces where South Asians gather: families, communities, houses of worship, workplaces, and yes, educational institutions. Hindus for Human Rights calls on all Hindus who claim to be progressive and inclusive to take a firm position on caste, to denounce it, reject it, and embrace the Hindu notion of ekatva, the oneness of us all. I applaud California State University for adding caste to its anti-discrimination policy and ask you to stand strong before the pressure to about turn on your principled stand on equity.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Manmeet Singh, Gairachi Giriyajan, and Monica Koda. Manmeet, you may begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Manmeet, and I'm a student at San Francisco State University, as well as one of the co-writers of the CSSA resolution that was passed last year, where the official voice of CSU students voiced support for caste to be added as a protected category. I want to thank the CSU administration for listening to CSU student voice and adding caste protections. I urge you to stand firm in your commitment to students, staff, faculty, especially the most marginalized, who collectively stand with you in this historic move, and pass CFA's collective bargaining agreement today with the caste clause. A small group of people against caste equity are feeling discomfort by this move towards equity, just like there has been opposition protesting civil rights with each and every single civil rights legislation that has been passed in US history. But I urge you to not be swayed by them. History is our witness today as we come here to speak, and history has been our witness as we have fought for this for the past year and a half. And you must choose the right side of the history. You must stand firm to protect us all, especially the minorities within the minorities.
Manmeet, can you please wrap up your remarks?
Yeah, and I stand in solidarity with the calls by SQE for defunding and demilitarizing the police and redirecting those funds in more generative ways. Thank you.
Gayatri, you may begin.
Hi, I'm Gayatri. I'm speaking as someone from a dominant caste Hindu background. I want to show my support for your addition of caste as a protected category in CSU's anti-discrimination policy, and I hope you can pass this collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in CFA contracts. I also stand in solidarity with Students for Quality Education's demands to get police off campus and the calls for fair wages and worker protections. Adding caste as a protected category will only strengthen the safety net supporting minority and marginalized communities communities, especially so for South Asian community members who previously did not have institutional support. There have been many testimonies from Dalit and caste oppressed folks from many countries attesting to the casteism they have faced in American institutions that they could not report before because there were no protections in place. Please ensure their safety and their ability to continue speaking freely by adding this category and ensuring institutional support for them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica, you may begin.
Hello, thank you so much for the space to speak today. I want to first and foremost extend solidarity to the Teamsters, everyone fighting for labor compensation and those demanding demilitarization and ultimate removal of campus police. Our struggles for liberation are forever intertwined. My name is Monica and I'm a dominant caste person of Hindu descent. And I want to thank this community for adding caste as a protected category in our CSU's anti-discriminatory policy. You are truly making history. As a queer disabled woman of color, I have several protections in place that provide legal support in case of discrimination on the basis of my various identities. This security isn't afforded to caste oppressed individuals who experience grave harm in the form of slurs, microaggressions, discrimination and housing, gender-based violence like sexual harassment, alongside diminished access to vital resources. Thank you for your support thus far, and I trust you will protect caste oppressed people by passing now this collective bargaining agreement. Please don't let the small but vocal voices against sway you and to unravel the months of this incredible movement that's been passing this so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Kriti Sankar, Janhavi V, and Shreya Sudhakar. Kriti, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Kriti and I'm speaking as a caste privileged Indian person of Hindu descent and a Cal Poly Flow student. I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discrimination policy. I strongly urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is protected in the CFA contracts. I urge you all to do right by the month-long labor of caste oppressed folks who've had to out themselves at similar public hearings in the face of bigotry and gaslighting, which puts them at a huge risk, given the fact that there were no set protections in place until very recently. I urge you all to ensure these folks are protected by passing the CFA union agreement, which includes caste protection. Thank you.
Thank you. Janhavi, you may begin.
Hello, I'm speaking as a queer, gender non-binary, caste-privileged student of Indian and Hindu descent. Firstly, I strongly support CSU community members in their efforts to resist police violence, disarming and disbanding the police on their campuses, and the efforts to ensure the safety and financial security for staff and faculty during this pandemic. I want to commend you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discriminatory policy and urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure that caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. I would like to add that this is an additional layer of protections to ensure the civil rights of all members of the South Asian diaspora. Adding caste as a protected category will not detract from existing protections afforded to any religious or ethnic group. The discomfort of a bigoted minority of my caste-privileged peers should not be a reason to push back against this important step towards equity. Thank you for listening, and Jai Bhim.
Thank you. Shreyas, you may begin. Please accept the unmute request.
Hello, I'm speaking from a privileged caste Hindu background. I want to show appreciation for adding caste as a protected category in CSU's anti-discriminatory policy. I urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. The opposition to this move is committed to ignoring and distorting the reality of caste oppression. Discrimination based on the unchosen trait of birth-based caste is prevalent and indefensible. These protections help individuals from experiencing a broad spectrum of discriminatory conduct because of caste. The measures are not anti-Hindu or any particular religion. Don't believe disingenuous arguments intended to confuse members of the board into inaction regarding caste equity. This is why you should pass the collective bargaining agreement and commit to the democratic process of the CalFac union. Also, I support the demands to defund and demilitarize campus police, as well as support the Teamsters in their negotiations.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Deepanpreet Kaur, Ambika Nugahali, and Hari N. Deepanpreet, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Dear Board of Trustees, adding caste to non-discrimination policies does not seek to ban religious beliefs or practices, but only discriminatory treatment. Anti-discrimination measures that include caste as a protected trait provide protection for individuals who would otherwise be victims of intentional discriminatory conduct that is motivated by caste. It only targets those who discriminate another person due to the unchosen trait of being born into a certain caste. Don't fall for the gaslighting or the bigotry. Pass a collective bargaining agreement and commit to the democratic process of the CalFAC Union. And again, I stand in solidarity with SQE's demands to defund and demilitarize the police and redirect those resources in generative ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambika, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hi, my name is Ambika, and I stand in solidarity with demands to defund and demilitarize the police at CSU, as well as the Teamsters requests. I'm a queer, non-binary, dominant caste Hindu student in California. I am protected from discrimination against my sexuality and gender identity. But when I see caste discrimination at my school, I can't report it because protections don't exist. I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discriminatory policy. Your decision helps keep people safe. I urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hari, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Hari. I'm a tech worker. I'm speaking as a caste privileged individual of Hindu descent, and I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discriminatory policy. Having observed discriminatory practices inside my own house and outside of it back in my home country, India, I know caste is something that follows people when they leave their home, street, city, state, country, and continent. When talking about casteism, we need to be centering and listening to Dalit and caste oppressed folks. The lived experiences of Dalit and caste oppressed folks are the only testimony necessary to include caste as a protected category. Erasing or denying their experiences is in itself reproducing caste violence. The negotiating committee has been working hard for months to win this agreement, and it must be respected. I urge you to pass the CFA contract and the caste protection clause. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Rajalaxmi Kavaluru, Arnab Banerjee, and Prem Pariyar. Rajalaxmi, you may begin.
Hi, my name is Rajalakshmi. I'm an Indian Brahmin and aspiring ally and accomplice to Dalit liberation, workers' rights, and divestment from cops. I'm also transgender and multiply disabled. As an intersectional feminist survivor advocate, I help universities nationwide protect survivors of abuse and violence. That's why I support caste equity addition to the non-discrimination policy and urge ratification of the collective bargaining agreement. The caste oppressed students and organizers that helped raise this issue are facing bigoted and violent attacks from the opposition. This violent retaliation in response to protections being discussed demonstrates why we need protection in the first place. As a trauma-informed advocate, I ask this board to help protect your caste-oppressed students who rely on your institutional protection. Also, defund and demilitarize the police, as well as supporting the Teamsters and supporting all the efforts for caste equity and liberation. Thank you.
Thank you. Arnab, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Arnab, and I'm an associate professor of theater at a local university, and I support the inclusion of caste as a protected category, the abolition of campus police, as well as fair wages and compensation for the Teamsters effort that we have heard from today. I was born and raised in a Hindu Brahmin household in West Bengal, India. Unbeknownst to me, I have always enjoyed the privilege to live my life in confidence and arrogance because of my caste positionality. It is only when I began analyzing and researching Ambedkarite philosophy that I realized the agency granted to me by my perceived social capital, which was a direct result of my affiliation with the oppressor caste. That is also when I began understanding the different, negative, and harmful ways my colleagues and friends from the oppressed communities navigated the same spaces that I did and considered to be caring and empowering. It is for all of these reasons and to continue my and our personal growth as Ambedkarite Indians and towards decolonizing and de-Brahmanizing our surroundings that I enthusiastically support adding caste as a protected category at CSU and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Prem, you may begin.
Thank you. Respected Chancellors, Dr. Castro, Board of Trustees, and everyone. Today, I'm here to support caste protections. I am a Hindu Nepali Dalit and alumni of CSU East Bay. Adding caste to the CSU system has nothing to do with my religion. People opposing caste protection on this call are diminishing the importance of democratic negotiations that took months to get caste added as a protected category into the contracts and policy documents. I hope they are able to understand that caste protections are only an additive layer of support for students like me. Changing the policy now simply in the face of pushback is undermining workers' rights itself. I know what I experienced, and it is hurtful for dominant caste people involved in advocating against caste protections to take that away from me. Recognizing the caste in anti-discrimination policy, the CSU system has proved that how they are worried of their caste-oppressed marginalized faculties, staff, and students. Thank you for creating welcoming environment for Dalit students, faculties, and staff. Dalit rights is human rights.
Please wrap your remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Tam Singh, Maya Acharya, and Audrey Trusk. Cam, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hello, I'm speaking as a Punjabi person with Sikh and Hindu heritage from a caste oppressed background, and I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discriminatory policy, and I urge you to pass a collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. The need for caste protections is real. Caste oppressed students, staff, and faculty experience grave harm, including caste slurs, microaggressions, discrimination in housing, and gender-based violence like sexual harassment and assault. Caste is here and it's real. It impacts immigrants like me from all South Asian countries and all religions. Adding caste is not only the morally right thing to do, it is the only lawful thing to do to ensure caste-oppressed people have the same rights and safe access as every other student. I also stand in solidarity with both the Teamsters and with SQE's demands to defund and demilitarize the police and redirect those resources in generative ways.
Thank you. Maya, you may begin.
Hi, I'm Maya, and I'm speaking as a dominant Brahmin caste privileged person of Hindu descent, and I have lived in California my whole life. My father, Brahma, was here too in agreement with my statements. I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discrimination policy and urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in CFA contracts. We are also in solidarity for students for quality education's call for divesting from campus police, as well as the Teamsters' call for fair wage increases. Adding caste to the non-discrimination policies does not seek to ban religious beliefs or practices. The only thing that will be banned is discriminatory treatment. Anti-discrimination measures that include caste as a protected trait provide protections for individuals who would otherwise be victims of intentional discriminatory conduct motivated by caste. It is not members of any one religion that are targeted, but the people who are targeted by this policy will be people who are acting in oppressive and discriminatory ways. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Audrey, you may begin.
Hello, I'm Associate Professor of South Asian History at Rutgers University. And as an expert in South Asian studies, I strongly support adding caste as a protected category. I have seen how caste bias affects Dalit students semester after semester on my campus in New Jersey, and I have seen the pernicious effects of caste resulting in high-profile investigations coast to coast in America. Just last year, the FBI raided a Hindu temple in southern New Jersey and reportedly removed around 100 workers, almost all Dalits, allegedly held in conditions of forced labor. In California, you all have the Cisco case ongoing, in which the state alleges that two men engaged in employment discrimination against a Dalit in Silicon Valley. Put bluntly, caste discrimination is part of American society at present, but it need not be part of our educational institutions. That some folks are actually opposing caste-affected individuals having a pathway to greater equity on campus only further attests to the need for these protections. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Alex Lyons, Ashley Rihal, and Rupa M. Alex, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Alex Lyons. I'm a policy analyst with the California Trade Justice Coalition. We're a coalition of labor, environmental, and social justice organizations. I'm here today to stand on behalf of our organization in strong support of adding caste as a protected category in CSU's anti-discrimination policy and in strong support of ratifying CFA's contract that includes the same protections. In the labor movement, we know that solidarity is a fundamental value. Solidarity means that when one community is facing threats and discrimination, that affects every community. Caste equity is a labor issue. And on behalf of the CTJC, the California Trade Justice Coalition, we strongly encourage you to support these protections and to ratify this contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley, you may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley Rejo. I am speaking as a Sikh caste privileged student at UC Berkeley. I am also the South Asian Community Endorsed Senator at the ASUC at UC Berkeley, meaning I have been endorsed by over 25 South Asian organizations on campus. So I am speaking in both my personal capacity and as a representative of my community when I say very clearly that the South Asian community at Berkeley stands in solidarity with those fighting caste oppression and with those advocating for caste protections in the CFA contracts. Caste is real, and the caste oppressed students and organizations that help to raise this issue are facing bigoted and violent attacks from the opposition. These attacks are a reminder of exactly why we need to have caste equity protections. Thank you all for implementing caste protections in the anti-discrimination policy, and I urge you all to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. Thank you.
Thank you. Rupa, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hello, I'm speaking as an Indian American of Hindu descent with caste privilege. Firstly, I want to express my strong support of the calls for fair pay from Teamsters and for the calls to get police off campus and redirect those resources in generative ways. Second, I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in CSU's anti-discriminatory policy and urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. Caste is a reality in California and the US at large, impacting people from all South Asian countries and all religions. I'm a tech worker at a company based in California where I have witnessed caste discrimination, not just at my company, but across the industry. We rely on hiring talent from CSU, so it's important that CSU is a safe space for caste oppressed students and produces people who treat everyone fairly. So the need for caste protections is real. I know that banning of caste discrimination is leading to some opposition and outright casteism and gaslighting from caste privileged people who are uncomfortable with equity. But all of this fragility and attacks from people with caste privilege are only proof of the immediate need to finalize passing the CFA contract and the caste protection clause. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers are Lolita Duperon, Sarita A., and Genevieve Kiefer. Lolita, you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Lalita Duperon. I'm the Associate Director of the Center for South Asia at Stanford. I'm speaking from unceded Muwekma Ohlone land. I would like to strongly support the calls to divest from campus police. I speak as a white ally and as a scholar of South Asia, and I want to express my gratitude and support for adding caste as a protected category. Caste is a global issue that extends throughout South Asia and the diaspora, spanning different faiths and ethnicities. Casteism is an interfaith and international issue. It is a civil rights and human rights issue. Framing it as a religious issue is a distraction. When talking about casteism, we need to be centering and listening to Dalit and caste oppressed people. Just like white people do not get to define what racism is, caste privileged people do not get to define what casteism is. Please pass the CFA contract and the caste protection clause. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarita, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
I'm a queer tech worker from a caste privileged Hindu background. I'm also a UC alum and have spent my entire educational career in California public schools. Unfortunately, I've also seen casteism among fellow second-generation Indian Americans. So I'm immensely proud of Cal State for adding caste to its anti-discrimination policy and urge passage of the collective bargaining agreement. It's amazing that California is home to immigrants from all over the world, but unfortunately members of our diverse immigrant population often bring their biases with them overseas. Caste is a global issue that extends throughout South Asia and the diaspora, spanning different faiths and ethnicities. Adding caste as a protected category will support people all over South Asia and of South Asian descent: Pakistan, Nepal, India, Bangladesh, indentured communities in the Caribbean, and Fiji. We can't let a small, vocal minority erase the fact that the addition of caste is to address caste throughout South Asia and beyond, and in various religions. I want to thank you all for the addition of caste as a protected category, as well as stand in solidarity with defunding and demilitarizing campus police. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Spencer Owen, P. Prasad, and Dr. Vihendra Agarwal. Spencer, let me just have you unmute, and then you can begin your comments.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, trustees. My name is Spencer Owen. I am the Skilled Trades Recording Secretary for Teamsters Local 2010. I work at Cal State Northridge as a plumber. This will be my 7th year at CSUN. When I started at CSUN, I had no idea that getting a raise would be so hard. I listened to my coworkers tell me about how they did not receive a raise for almost 7 years before I started. I could not believe it. Everywhere else I worked before, I always received a raise yearly and sometimes 2 times a year. The past 2 years have been difficult for everyone because of the pandemic. My family and I had COVID and survived. Others survived and some were not so lucky. The CSU needs to step up and give all of its essential workers essential pay for their hard work to keep your campuses working through and during the pandemic. Give our workers a sense of pride and feeling of hope. Stop using our benefits as an excuse for not paying us more. Thank you.
Thank you. And my apologies to Genevieve. I skipped over you. Genevieve, you may begin your remarks.
Thank you. First, I would like to express support for defunding and disbanding campus police and also for increased labor compensation. I am a Catholic tech worker, and I want to thank you all for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discriminatory policy, and urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. I urge you to stay committed to the already agreed upon contract, especially as the larger non-discrimination policy has already been changed to address caste. There is no need to go backwards, as the decision has already been completed at the policy level. The Caste Press students and organizations that helped to raise this issue are facing bigoted and violent attacks from the opposition. These attacks are exactly why we need to have caste equity protections in place. Please don't let the vocal few impact the rights of everyone. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Prasad, and as a long-term California resident and taxpayer, I urge you to reject plans to make caste a protected category. If you vote yes, know that you'll be amplifying a well-funded campaign of the elites, because they have come together to target and destroy an old indigenous faith and curb the religious freedom of Hindus. Even today's is a strange call, where you have Ivy League professors with tenures, privileged students from very rich backgrounds, well-funded elites coming together to hound an indigenous faith, which, by the way, has been under attack for centuries from the 2 big global faiths. And you see it in the coordinated Zoom backgrounds and the scripted talking points. By misusing university policies, these elites now want to appoint themselves as the Pope of Hinduism so that they can destroy it more effectively from within than they could from the outside. They're crying victim even as they have enjoyed the megaphone of mainstream media for the last decade, and they are already dictating to us what I can and cannot do as a Hindu, my practice, my faith, even when their edicts as a new Hindu Pope goes against the teaching of my own gurus and my own texts. So before you vote yes, I challenge you to accurately identify my caste or that.
Could you please wrap up your remarks? Thank you.
You will fail because all your so-called experts cannot even identify the victim from the aggressor. Thank you.
Dr. Vihendra, you may begin.
Good morning. I strongly oppose the caste in the CSU non-discrimination policy. I have worked in public higher education for 35 years in 6 states and 8 campuses, both as faculty as also as academic administrators, and never came across the caste factor. It will be a travesty for CSU with world-class intellectuals basing its decision on a non-scientific, biased, highly suspect, and self-serving survey of an activist organization called Equality Labs. CSU intellectuals must have reviewed a more robust report in 2020 by the Carnegie Endowment, which negates the flawed claims made by EL. CSU must check the facts for its own objectivity and integrity. It will hurt simply the 600 faculty members of South Asian
Could you please
origin.
wrap up your remarks? Thank you.
And CSU will have difficulty recruiting STEM faculty going forward. So I highly recommend that this should be deleted from the CFA collective bargaining agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Sudha Jagannathan, Archa Thadi, and Aldrin Deepak. Sudha, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Yes. My name is Sudha Jagannathan. I'm a Shudra Hindu, if you know what that means. I oppose the addition of caste as a specific category to this California state policy because it is discriminatory to me and my Hindu families and friends who also include LGBTQ members. Today, what I've heard is kids calling in and saying they are upper caste or upper privileged or privileged caste. There's nothing like that. They are economically privileged kids of parents who left caste in India, came here, worked hard, and made a life for them. They should be falling at the feet of their parents, apologize for their this caste brainwashing behavior, and then straighten their heads on what it means to be a Hindu. My daughter was a San Francisco State grad, and I've lived in America for 40 years. I do not have a caste, never had it in India. And my lived experience in the United States was never about caste. Nobody did caste discrimination to me.
Please wrap up your comments.
Yes, I was discriminated by white Christian managers in some of the largest organizations, tech companies of America, never a Hindu. The policy will cast suspicion around every Hindu employee and student just because we are suspected of being Hindu and a perceived.
Aldrin, please accept the unmute request and you may begin.
Hello, I'd like to start.
Hello. Am I speaking? Hello.
Aldrin? Yes.
Hello, my name is Aldrin Deepak, and I'm here to oppose the addition of caste as a specific category to Cal State policy because it's discriminatory. I think this action will have unintended consequences to the Indians and Hindu diaspora. As a lower caste person myself, I implore you to look into more in detail before passing this policy and talk to more Hindus from all walks of life. It is very personal to me, and it is not something that you should take in such urgency, these rulings, and it will only stereotype and discriminate and create Hindu phobia. And this will, as being a LGBT Dalit, my Hindu community and temple has been a great support to me, and this will only draw wedges between us and fear and mistrust instead of building bridges of hope and oneness spirit that my dharma requires. I do not have had any discrimination in the last 32 years I've lived in America as a Dalit person. No Hindu has ever asked me what my caste is. So these people who say I'm gaslight this and that, I want you to know there's two sides, and before you make a decision, please consider the other side.
Aldrin, please wrap up your remarks.
Please consider the other side, and we have to think about both sides before we make the decision. And I appreciate, please listen to the Dalit voices as well.
Thank you. Sonia, our next three speakers are Sonia Thomas, Neha Kapoor, and Satish Sharma. Sonia, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Sonia Thomas, and I'm a tenured associate professor and Women's Studies Department chair at Colby College. In October 2021, Colby became the second college in the nation to add caste to our non-discrimination policy. I published numerous peer-reviewed articles in an academic book on caste in Christianity. To say that recognizing caste is quote unquote Hindu-phobic is misguided, and such a charge fails to understand how casteism functions in many different religions, including Christianity. By recognizing caste as a protected category, We protect those who may experience this discrimination in any religion. It is unfortunately the case that those with the most amount of privilege voice anger and convoluted arguments when oppressed peoples ask for mere equity. I applaud this board for standing up to such fragility and for seeing caste as a human rights issue. I'm happy to talk further with the board about how casteism functions in Christianity, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Archa, if you wanted to give your comments, my apologies.
Thank you. Hello, I'd like to strongly support the call to divest from campus police and protect Black and Brown lives now. And I stand in solidarity with the demand to defund and demilitarize the police. I'm here speaking to you as a dominant caste Brahmin of Hindu Indian descent, who's also queer and a survivor. And I'd like to thank you for adding caste as a protected category in the CSU's anti-discriminatory policy and urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. There are various attempts being made to discredit the constant struggle that has brought us here, but you must not let the bad faith arguments of a small group of casteist bigots take away from the months and months of work of our interfaith, intercaste, multiracial coalition. Please pass the collective bargaining agreement today to ensure that caste is also protected in the CFA contracts. Caste is a global issue that extends throughout South Asia and the diaspora, spanning different faiths and ethnicities. It's an interfaith, intercaste, international issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Neha, you may begin. Please accept the unmute request.
Hi, I'm a dominant caste community member from a Hindu background, and I would like to thank CSU for adding caste as a protected category in their anti-discrimination policy. And I urge you to pass the collective bargaining agreement so these protections extend to CFA contracts. I have grown up in a dominant caste household, and I've heard caste slurs and caste abuses being used on numerous occasions. I've been witness to these kinds of abuses in many different contexts. And in order to protect CSU students and faculty from this kind of abuse that could potentially come, there should definitely be caste protections, and it's critical that this agreement be passed. I also stand in solidarity with SQE's demands to defund and demilitarize the police and redirect those resources in generative ways. Thank you.
Satish, you may begin.
Okay, thank you very much. And respected members
Satish, we're not able to hear your comments. There's audio problem. I'm going to put you on mute. Perhaps you might want to send in your written comments because there's something wrong with your audio. And I want to thank all of our speakers for joining us, but we're coming up on our time limit. So our final three speakers will be Chirag Garg, Dilip Amin, and Sandeep Bharat. Chirag, please accept the unmute request and you may begin. Chirag, you're on mute. Okay. Our next speaker, Dilip Amin. You may accept the unmute request and begin your comments.
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is Dr. Dilip Amin from San Francisco and oppose the caste protected category. Any discrimination is bad and should be eradicated. I've been in the USA for 44 years, but never heard any caste-based discrimination. How are you going to enforce it when most Hindus don't know their caste or never followed caste in America? What will be the caste of my great-grandchildren when my parents never taught me what my caste is? Please don't add caste for the sake of the future generation of Hindus. Why are you singling out Hindus? Are you also planning to make laws for discrimination among Shia, Sunni, Ahmadi Muslims, and Catholic, Mormon, and Jehovah's Christians? Any workplace discrimination can be handled by existing protected categories such as ancestor-based discrimination, race, and ethnicity. Don't listen to these anti-Hindu groups. I urge you to
please wrap up your comments. Thank you.
Jai Bhim, Jai Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandeep, you may begin.
Yes, hi. I'm Dalit Bahujan minority myself, an alumni of Cal State Northridge, and I oppose collective bargaining on agreement of the caste. And speaking on the behalf of minority Dalits in America who are largely in dark about this misguided and hate-filled evangelical proposal. Universities such as yours system should not be partner in crime. Evangelical organizations such as Equality Labs, Hindus for Human Rights, and Colonial Minds, which self-proclaim themselves as experts on South Asia, fabricate and present the data, which is fake data, under the pretext of representing oppressed people. They continue to drive colonial anti-India hate propaganda. They are the aggressors that advocate for oppression and brainwash the institutions and people like you. Do not fall prey. It is important for you to note that such proposal is part of one-way colonial war waged on Dalits and Bahujans of America and their children. Use the existing provisions in law and policies against any discrimination. Save universities from any evangelical sponsored and colonial war. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all the speakers who joined us this morning and your patience. If we didn't get to your comments, please feel free to email them to me at trusteesecretariat@calstate.edu, and I will share those with the board. Chair Kimball, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. And thank you to all the speakers for your comments and your continued flexibility. We will now take a lunch break and reconvene promptly at 1 p.m.
Welcome to the California State University Office of the Chancellor live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. The Board of Trustees meeting agenda includes the prestigious Wong Awards, recognizing faculty and staff who make exemplary contributions to student success. Welcome to the California State University Office of the Chancellor live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly. The Board of Trustees meeting agenda includes the prestigious Wong Awards, recognizing faculty